Hello, welcome to my massive Herx. I wanted to post a video because my doctor gave me advice, and everybody has different doctors, but I always want to share what's going on. I wore myself out with this big garage sale project this weekend, and I knew I would be tired, but actually what happened sort of preceded that. I was having strange trouble last week where I was waking up in the mornings and my hands and feet and ankles and calves were swollen, and my lips and fingers and toes were sort of blue tinged and under my eyes. That's why I don't have on nail polish, which I'm addicted to nail polish, because I'm trying to monitor sort of my oxygen levels by looking at my fingernails and stuff like that. So that was happening before the garage sale, and then it progressed to a sort of major neurological Herx, which I'm on a lot of a drug called Neurontin. I'm only on 600 until today milligrams, 300 twice a day, and still the neurological symptoms sort of overcame that. I never had a grand mal seizure, but I had some petit mals or petit mals, however you want to call it. And a lot of twitching and a lot of nerve pain and activity, that creepy thing where it feels like there are bugs or worms crawling all over you, and then that feeling where it feels like somebody's hands on your back. And for me it's usually in two places, one at the base of my neck and one on my head, just somebody's putting their hand there. It's very strange. So that all happened before my big garage sale project, which it was a huge project. It was 30 years worth of items, and so it took us 8 hours to set up on Friday, and then the event took 7 hours, and then we had to clean up and take things. We took things to the Sisters of St. Francis because they send things to Bosnia and to different places in South America, and then the costumey things that they thought might be insulting to send went to the Goodwill. So anyway, it was a pretty hefty project. So I knew that I was going to be tired. But before that, I had a couple herxing signs, and then I had, I don't even know exactly what to call it, GI paralysis. I'm not talking about constipation. My stomach stopped working, and both of my small and large intestines stopped working, where they were just sort of paralyzed, which sometimes can come from prolonged antibiotic use, or some people have that response to certain antibiotics. I hadn't changed my protocol at all, so I'm going to go ahead and say it was prolonged. So what happened is, for about 5 days, I realized on day 3, and I stopped taking my antibiotics, but for 5 days, my stomach and my intestines just didn't work. My food sat there and wasn't processed, and it wasn't painful or icky until I started vomiting day 5, just because rotten food for all intents and purposes, and then eventually it started to work. But so what's happening is, because I was already having a moderately bad babesia Herx, the toxins in my body built up because they weren't relieved through natural processes. So my Herx has become a gargantuan problem. I slept for several days off and on with terrible night sweats, and then I had several small seizures anytime I was awake. The pain, and I'm a girl that can handle some pain, and as you all are, but the pain is worse than I have ever experienced, and it's hard to monitor. So I chased my doctor down again, and I wanted to share a little bit of my protocol. Because with a Herx this bad, you're not supposed to sort of add more Herx to it, or your level of sort of toxicity versus your body's ability to relieve yourself of the toxins won't be balanced. So they backed off my Mepron. I was taking it every 3 days. They backed it off to once a week for just a little while so that the Herx I don't have a Herx on top of a Herx. And then they backed off my Plaquenil from every 3rd day to every 4th day. And they backed off my Zithromax from 1,000 milligrams a day to 500 milligrams a day, just to all to relieve the Herx, or to prevent having a bigger Herx than I'm having, because if it gets worse I will have to be hospitalized, just for the sake of the IV fluids and pain monitoring. So they also recommended that I take more Beluki, so I'm going to pimp Beluki again. Here's Beluki, and what it basically is it's earthworms, but it's for circulatory health, and so it gets in your blood and helps clean it out. It also fights biofilm, which is a very important thing to those of us that have, well, any of them, Babesia and Bartonella, and Lyme, and ehrlichiosis and Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Anyway, I'm not sure which ones create more biofilm. I believe it is Babesia, but they all live in it, and they create it to live in, so you can't get to it. So this helps break down the biofilm. It helps clean the crap out of your body. So Beluki, she increased it. I was already taking it 3 times a day before meals. Now I'm taking it 4 times a day, 2 pills, so I'm taking 8 of these a day. In the effort to try and clean my blood from this Herx, the toxins from this Herx. She also increased, I take like baby aspirin or low dose aspirin, however you want to put it. She increased my intake of that. I take just 1, I was taking 1 a day. She increased it to 3. And then I take heparin in troche form. Hold on, my hand is actually permanently cramped today. This one's okay, but this one's in awesome shape. So hold on a second. So heparin is a blood thinner that I take both because I have a clotting issue because of all the ick, and because the thinner your blood is, I mean, you don't want to make yourself sick with thin blood, or you don't want to be too thin, but you do want to keep it thinned out because it helps your body purify. If there's sludge going through the organs that clean your blood, you're just screwed. So I take a blood thinner, and I was taking 2 a day. They increased me to 3, sometimes 4. Instead of having to do injections, I take these troches. Each square, these are the empty ones, is it's the claw. I'm snorting. This is awesome. Anyway, each little square is 1 dose, and I use usually a toothpick and pull it out. And then you put it in between your gum and your cheek and let it dissolve. It usually takes about 30 minutes. You can get troches for other things too, but I was really glad for the heparin just because injecting every day when you're already sick puts you at higher risk of infection. Now that is something I'll have to do when I start my penicillin, bicillin, But right now we're not directly treating the Lyme, we're working on the Babesia. So those are things that I just wanted to pass on to you that they recommended to try and help me and to back off on my meds, not to completely eliminate them. They also shared with me something that I didn't know, and it didn't affect me because I always took it anyway, but if you're on Mepron and you're on Zithromax or some other antibiotic, you cannot miss your antibiotic whatever day you take Mepron. Now, I never did, so it wasn't a relevant thing to me, but Mepron can cause such a stir, I guess, that you need the Zithromax there to fight the battle of whatever it releases. So that was another piece of information I learned today.